Hello and welcome again to Immigration News and Views. My name is David Nachman. I'm one of the managing attorneys at the NPZ Law Group, Nachman Fulwani Zimochek Law Group, with offices located in Ridgewood, New Jersey. We also have an office located in Midtown Manhattan. We also have an office in Indiana, in Indianapolis downtown, and we also have a presence in Boston and in Chicago, and we have affiliated offices in India and also one in Ahmedabad and one in Mumbai. And we also have affiliated offices, by the way, in Canada. So the reason why I wanted to do a short video today was to discuss what I call politics immigration style. And the issue came up, actually I was recently teaching an immigration and nationality paralegal studies class at one of the local universities, and we were talking about immigration politics and the history of immigration politics. And it's kind of interesting. I just want to go back to 1986 when the IRA, which was the statute that was passed back in 1996. You will recall that President Clinton was trying to get reelected for his second term, and essentially what he did was he turned over the immigration issue to the Republicans, who basically wrought havoc with the immigration law. And when I say wrought havoc, I sort of mean that what happened was that was the implementation of what we call 212A9, or the 3 and 10-year bar. And what ended up happening there is that any individual who overstayed a date certain on their I-94 by 180 days or by 365 days, number one, if they overstayed, the visa became automatically void, but they also accrued unlawful presence. If they overstayed by 180 days and they left the country, they'd be barred for 3 years. And then if they overstayed by 365 days, they would be barred for 10 years. So essentially what happened was there was the implementation of a form of self-deportation, and that happened in 1996. So fast forward now to 2001, when President Clinton, when he was leaving office, really felt badly for the terrible things that he had done to the immigration law in 1996. And so what he did was he implemented the Life Act. And the Life Act gave individuals who filed certain documents before a deadline, which kept being extended out, but at the time was ultimately became April 30th of 2001. So what happened was there was basically a safe harbor provision put into the law where if individuals had made a qualified filing, and a qualified filing means a bona fide filing, and it had to be properly filed by April 30th of 2001 with the USCIS, or if it was a perm case, the filing had to be with the U.S. Department of Labor. And so what that allowed individuals to do is to be grandfathered under a program called 245I. And if an individual has that filing under 245I, they're allowed to pay a penalty and to adjust their status in the United States without having to depart and then to become subject to the bars. And so it's kind of interesting that that all happens coming up to, obviously, that was the that was what happened with President Clinton. Then fast forward again to President Obama's regime, and then what we tend to find is that, generally speaking, President Obama wants to be very friendly to immigrants in the end of his second term. And so in November of 2014, President Obama announces a whole slew of what are called administrative actions, which of course now are held up in the courts. But I think that that is probably going to be, depending upon how the Supreme Court comes out on it, which is soon to be either May or June of this year, well, we'll find out whether or not President Obama will leave a lasting legacy, which potentially could end up legalizing about 1/2 of the individuals who are in the United States. So that could be President Obama's legacy. What's interesting is that now Hillary Clinton's campaign speeches are filled with rhetoric about the fact that she's going to get rid of the 3 and 10-year bars within the first 100 days of her being in office. And that's kind of interesting because we don't really know whether or not she's going to be able to do that, since the 3 and 10-year bar are something that are regulatory. How a president is just going to come into office and get rid of that is sort of quizzical to me. I'm not sure how exactly that's going to happen. But, of course, if she were to try to do that, conceivably, I guess we would end up with the same sort of a situation like we did with Texas right now, dealing with President Obama's administrative actions, where they're going to take a position and try to restrain whatever the president does. So, of course, this is to be looking into the crystal ball, but we don't know exactly how it's going to shake out. Overall, with regard to immigration politics, what we tend to find is that that individuals who are running for office tend to do best if they're moderate. We always tend to find that extremists are not the ones who end up getting elected. That has always been traditional in U.S. immigration politics. So, of course, it's to be determined where we're going from here. Obviously, both parties are vying for the affection of both the Asian voters as well as the Hispanic voters. It's clear that immigration is going to remain on the front burner for the rest of the election, and it's only our hope that whoever is ultimately the new president will be helpful to dealing with the U.S. immigration issue and helping us to solve the problem. Thanks very much for tuning in, and obviously we'll continue to keep you updated with any news that we receive from Capitol Hill. Thanks very much for being with us. Bye for now.